What is going on, Macro Pod, Macro Perspective peeps? I am super delighted to showcase our guest here today. Want to do a little intro. Unfortunately, Marcos ran into some clinical things with our patient base, and he might be behind or may join. It happens. That's why we got two co-hosts today. But before we start that, I want to introduce you guys to Ben Gaetos.
Gaetos.
Gatos, yes. Ben, I really want to say like how we met is quite interesting. I was walking down my street in my neighborhood out here in Eagle Rock, California, and Ben waved me down. Hey, what's going on? I was like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, hey, you go to the Fitness 19, right?
Yeah,
And I was like,
same
yeah,
gym. Yeah.
you go to the same gym. He's like, yeah, I see you there every day, like early in the morning, 5 a.m., 6 a.m. I'm like, yeah, man. And kind of started creating a relationship and got to know Ben a little bit more. And Ben has honestly a pedigree of excellence I have not seen, and I want to highlight. It's really cool. But Ben is the first Filipino to complete the Badwater 135-mile marathon, ultra marathon, dubbed as the world's toughest foot race since the inception of it in 1978. Only 100 extreme endurance athletes worldwide are invited to participate in this annual event that's held in July in Death Valley. I think it just happened.
It just happened
Uh,
last week. This
it
week, the other
happened
day. The other
this
day.
week,
Day
and
to Wednesday.
it's crazy. Basically, the temperatures range from 124 to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. But that's like one of your biggest feats, Ben. And I want to get into that, but also you've done it all from the Grand Canyon, rim to rim, 48 miles, Mount Whitney, the Angeles Crest, 100 miles 4 times, San Diego 3 times, the Bataan Death March, 160 to 102 kilometers in the Philippines, which this is the Death March that was known in our Filipino
Yes, that
culture.
much. Yes.
Stair climb, Bank Tower, downtown LA, and even the LA Marathon 22 times. 22 times. And you host a monthly hike for LA City retirees.
Yes.
And
Just yesterday.
you created a book called I Dream, I Ran, I Conquered, and Dream, Great Things Are Coming Again. I have a copy, my fiance and we're reading it. I really appreciate the copy, by the way. That's
These
the
are
one
two
with you.
books.
Yeah, I Dream, I Ran, I Conquered. If you guys want to support him, we got the link there. But Ben, I want to kind of just go into like who you are, what got you into running and doing ultra runs. And it's funny because right now, I was telling you off screen, social media is all about these ultimate endurance athletes right now. It's getting its time in socials. It's getting its praise. We've got these endurance athletes. We've got these hybrid athletes. We got these guys that run long distances like crazy. But tell us about who you are and how you got into this world, Ben.
Uh, I've always loved running when I was a kid, growing up in the Philippines, right? However, like Philippines is a basketball country. Everybody plays basketball, and
So true.
running there's only a few runners, and I don't have a few friends who runs. So eventually, I was running by myself or a little bit. It became as a my outlet when I'm down or something. When I'm depressed, it's always my outlet. And then when I came to the United States in 1984, when I immigrated here, I found out there's a lot of open spaces here, like Griffith Park. Like I live with my uncle in Silver Lake, Echo Park. Man, there's a lot of places to go. And but again, I was working. I was working double job, but I didn't have time. I would run a few, say once a month or something. We don't have time. And finally, I think December '86, I said, I it's not a resolution. I said to myself, starting next year, January '87, I will run at least a couple of miles once a week. And it got to that. So I've been running once, and then eventually there was no social media, no running friends. I was just by myself, nobody to help me or just to talk to, right? So finally I said, okay, maybe I enter a 10K. So I entered 10K in 1989, stopped a little bit, slowly. Finally got interested in the marathon. I was watching TV, LA Marathon. Maybe I can do it. So I ran my first marathon, LA Marathon, in 1992. Like solo training, no, nothing. Just
no inputs. You just did it yourself. No,
yeah, I
just
just
figured
did
it
it. My
out.
longest mile, I think, run was just 10 miles, 10 or
Wow.
12, and I went through it, and I finished a decent time, 4 hours 9 minutes.
Wow. That's
And
crazy.
from
So
there
you
on, I
just
slowly grew
yeah.
up.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's a crazy. I have a question there. I don't want to pass this along because I think it's an important question. You said this yourself. Hey, I was working and you were working and then you were doing the training. I think that's a big thing a lot of our listeners kind of do is like how did you balance that? Because if you have a full-time job, it's 40 plus hours per week, and then running requires
Yes,
you can go into the gym, get a 30-minute an hour workout, but running is a thing where you have to commit mileage. You
yes,
got to commit time.
yes.
What were you doing back in the day? Tell us about like your career path and how you had to manage that. I think listeners would like to appreciate that because it's like we're all trying to figure out how to make it work, you know?
It's just setting up time. It's like getting discipline on it. Uh, like after work, somebody you're tired, right? After work, some people sit, they take time, watch TV. I don't. What I do, as soon as I get home, I get ready. Take my change my clothes to my running clothes, whatever, and then just go take off. Or sometimes I go to the gym right directly, and then spend an hour, maybe an hour to myself, just to release all the tension, like work tensions. And then on weekends, that's where I do my long runs. Like if I'm off on Friday or Saturday, like the night before, my clothes are ready. All the things, my hydration pack, water, everything is ready. So when I wake up in the morning, I just change, go. You just have to commit yourself. It's not easy, but that's how it goes.
I love that. That's a good point. And what was your job before, Ben? What was your career? What were you doing before?
Uh, I'm an architect. I started like when I came from the Philippines. I'm a licensed architect in the Philippines, but migrating here, I have to start all over again. So I went through from Bronx, from below again, then moved my way up. Uh, Eventually, I worked. Not too far. Retired in December. I retired from the city of Los Angeles as a as an architect project manager in December 2020. It's an early
Wow.
retirement. So now I'm retired, but I'm doing a few consultation, my private practice, just to keep myself busy.
I
Because
like that.
I don't sit. I don't even watch. I watch TV once in a while, but I don't really. I I move on. I always try to move.
So you're like semi-retired. Did you retire because you're like, all right, I financially got what I needed, or you're like, they're like, oh, you're good. Like, they gave you your, whatever. If you don't mind me asking, like, what made you like retire a little earlier?
There was about COVID, right? COVID came, and then the city like a budget cuts. They offered retirement to those who are near retirement, and I
Mm,
was thinking, I plan to retire only a year, right? And they give us a package. Hey, I
yeah,
offer you can't refuse. So
yeah,
in the beginning, it was hard. Okay, I'm not ready for this. The first year, is yeah, sometimes I get bored, so I find things to do. And eventually, a lot of people, some of my friends, find out, hey, are you retired? "Oh, yes, I just retired. Can you help me on this? Like prepare plans or do the for my parents this and that. So I started doing small room additions in the popular ADUs, accessory dwelling unit, and I've done a lot of project like before prior years, right? So I said okay,
yeah.
and then just word by mouth, everybody found out, hey, I heard you doing work for this, and so no. But then I had
Staying busy.
working with this by myself, I get to pick and choose if I like the project or not. If it's complicated or too much to deal with, say, sorry, I can't do that. Because I'm a solo, just by myself.
Yeah.
Somebody offered me to do a huge project in Riverside, but if I do that, it's a full time job. I need a whole office to do, and I said, sorry, I
Yeah.
can't do it.
Well, that's a good point. I'm glad you set that boundary within yourself. I think it's so easy to be a yes man, and be like, yeah, let's do it, and then not have those boundaries, and then realize, hey, you probably weren't, you know, the right person or the right fit for you or anything for that job, and then it's just kind of for both
Yes,
parties
yes.
not the good thing. I like that. I appreciate that. Well, let's get back into this. Officially completing 86 ultra marathons. I can't even believe I'm saying these words out of my mouth right now. 86 ultra marathons, 73 marathons, and 250 plus races from 5K to 30K. First off, I just want to preface for the guys that are listening to this that are like, couch to 5K folks, which is kind of maybe like I was there at some point, and maybe I do like 5Ks and like 10Ks and like half marathons consistently now is like where I'm at. I gotta shout out my fiance Desiree because she's the one
Yeah.
that like really loves running as a sport. Doing a few 5Ks is a challenge for a few people, okay? For us down here, for us mere mortals, but 86 ultra marathons. Ben, where do you get the mindset to do 86 ultra marathons? And can you break down what an ultra marathon is as compared to a marathon?
Ultramarathon are races beyond the 26.2 marathon distance.
Okay.
Normal, they're usually at 50K. 50K is 31 miles, and then go to 50 miles, then 100K is 100K, 100 miles.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh.
I got through ultramarathon like when I was about to quit running. I hung up my running shoes. Actually, I was it was year 2000. I said, I'm done with this. Too much stress. I was overtraining. So when you're overtraining, everything goes down.
Yeah.
And finally, I said, I'm done. I was trying to push, trying to uh, go into like a Boston Marathon qualifying, but I was always failing. Finally, I said, I'm doing this last 10K. That's it, and I quit. And finally, I met an old guy. I was, I think, 40s then. Then I met an old guy, 60s. There, hey, why don't you join me with this race? So I got into, hey, I went to his office. He said, this 65-year-old guy, he's still running this and that. I went to his office, all the medals. I was so impressed. I said, okay, let me try this. So I tried I tried Catalina Marathon, which is mountain trail. I finished the marathon 4 hours 59 minutes. And
Mm.
people were telling me, man, if you're running 4:59, you should be running your marathon about maybe 45 minutes or an hour faster. I said, no way I can do that. And then I came back the following year to improve my time. I finished in 4:19, which were, hey, and I met a guy from Chicago, right? And he told me he was running 3:30 marathon. And then I beat him, right? He said, you should be
Whoa.
running real fast.
Yeah.
And from then on, I got into interest in trail running, and that's
Ah.
how I got to ultra. And then I met the lady. She's a coach, Nancy Shura Dervin. She's a coach of ultra ladies, coach of ultra marathon, and she got me to ultra marathon, trained me. I said, hey, I started. I had the background on running, and she told me this is what you should do if you want to run ultra. And then eventually, I loved it.
That's crazy. I want to commend you. That's insane. Like just to be like, hey, I'm on the quitting verge, right? I think sometimes when you get frustrated, when you keep, banging your head on the wall and you keep doing the
Yeah.
thing and you're like, oh, I keep just getting the same times or whatever. Sometimes you have some disbelief in yourself, but then like objectively you're seeing like, oh shoot, I'm actually doing good. People are saying I'm doing good. I'm beating times. Can create like a resurgence, and I think that's the beauty of it. Sometimes the moment that people decide to quit is actually the moment that like they pick it up again, and I think
Yes. Yes.
it's kind of it's a weird thing. I don't know how to explain it exactly. It's like a breakthrough of sorts, but so break that down for us. So like you got into the training and stuff like that. Obviously, ultra marathon, 26 plus miles, obviously more than anything else. What does like for the people that are trying to fathom it here, what does training look like that out? Let's just say, how far in advance do you need to know, hey, I got this ultra marathon, I need this much time to train for it so that I'm in a good time. And this is how I would split my weeks. And this is what I would need to do to get there. Like, can you break that down for us? Like what your thought process was? I bet you our audience would love that.
The basic of ultramarathon actually is building up before you start. Like before, even if before you start a marathon, right? You should have a like your training base, your weekly training base. If you run 20 miles a week or something, 30 miles a week, you have should have a running base, a weekly running base, and then you move
Right.
up. The key to ultramarathon is I found out is the the back-to-back long runs.
Mm-hmm.
Like Friday, you do a long run, and the next day you do another one, a longer.
Mm-hmm.
It helps you train your body to your tired legs to run more, to extend, to get an endurance.
Ah. Okay. That makes
Even by
sense.
just walking, my coach, like she told me, you don't have to run fast, but the time on feet, because you have a tight feet, right? The time on feet, you go, let's say you go 4 or 5. Sometimes we do just walking, hiking training, five to
Yeah.
six miles just walking. But
Oh.
when you're running the ultra marathons or 100 milers, you don't run the whole thing. Eventually, you'll be tired. But if you keep walking, keep moving at a steady pace, you'll make it. You gain time. Just
Okay,
don't.
that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's about that weekly progression, but then more important thing is about the back to backs. It sounds like being
Yes,
able
yes,
to do a good run, let's just
yeah,
say Friday, right? And then on Saturday, still getting out there again and doing a long again run.
yes, yeah,
Whether you move your feet or not in a run, you're just knowing how to move your feet when you're fatigued.
yes,
That's the key.
yeah. Like 2 years ago, a friend of mine asked me, hey, Kuya Ben, can you train me? Because she was preparing for the Badwater, right? Kuya Ben,
Yeah.
can you train me for Badwater? And I told her, you already have the speed. I won't be training you for the speed because you have it. I'm training you for endurance.
Mm,
So we'll do a hike, maybe 26 mile hike, like a marathon hike on the mountain, but it's power walking,
mm-hmm.
just speed. Like not fast, but we just kept moving, and she finished.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. I mean, it's so hard to fathom distance. I remember running my first marathon and I was like, I ran a half. Just do that twice.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like sometimes pain plays plays weird games with you. Pain, time, it plays weird games with you where, you've been running and you're like, how is that only a mile? Felt like I
Yeah.
ran 5.
Yeah.
Um, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that kind of struggle when you've got 100 miles? And I'm gonna talk to you about the Badwater for sure, but like you got 100 miles in front of you. How do you mentally, it's a big mountain,
Yes.
when you think about it as a goal. So like, how do you look at that mountain and go, okay, we're gonna do that? Like,
If you think 100 miles, don't think 100 miles right away. Like uh, it's like doing a project or something. You have to split it. Split it in. If it's 100 miles, it's a 4 marathon thing, right? You split it. Okay, let's do the first marathon first. You cut it in
mm,
small pieces. Your goal is just to reach. They have in ultra marathons. They have 8 stations. Like station at maybe 6 to 8 miles. You have a rest, a time check, and all this food. You run like station to station. I mean, your goal is to reach the next station, but
yeah,
eventually later on you're beginning. You notice, hey, I'm already this far. Might as well go for it.
yeah, yeah. Okay, a question that just came in my head: 100 miles, right? 5K. I blast some music, sprint through it. Let's go. 25 minutes, I'm done. Um, my question is, you like listening to audiobooks? Are you listening to silence? Are you meditating? What is going on in your mind during such a long time? I mean, with technology now, but when you first started, there really wasn't like audiobooks in your cell phone in your pocket. How did you
Yeah.
do it?
I don't carry music with me when I'm running. I started before years ago. Remember, we have the Sony Walkman years
Yeah,
ago. I had that so heavy. I said, forget it. I don't need it. So
yeah,
I did, I just on my meditation, a lot of things. Sometimes if you're running long, if you're thinking of running, like you messed up. I think something. Oh, I think away from running. Like say,
Mm.
sometimes I imagine talking to somebody. Talk to somebody like I answer. I the question answer the same thing. I ask the question, I answer it right. And what when I was preparing for my architect license test, I was
Yeah.
reviewing. I was doing question and
In
answers
your head.
in my head.
That's so funny. That's kind of what I was doing when I was getting ready to do a board exam last week. Any long runs that I had an audiobook, so I would do that. Or if I was just like not having the phone in my hand, I would go through questions in my head of like, okay, how do you answer that? Kind of like flashcards in your head
Yes, yes,
as
yes.
you're doing the
That's
run.
correct.
That's powerful, man. That's really crazy because it's sometimes I think the thing that defeats most people isn't the physical, it's the mind. And I think you're 100% right. If you're thinking about the run, especially with like a 100-mile run
Yes,
or a long run, that
yes,
run can defeat you. And being able to think about something else, maybe have a philosophical conversation in your head, answering your own questions,
yes.
asking deep questions. It's like a big meditation. I love that. I want to get to the thick of I bet you the audience just wants to hear this. Badwater 135-mile ultra marathon. Tell us about the Badwater, what it is, how you got there, and how you became the first Filipino to complete it.
Badwater Ultramarathon. It is dubbed as the world's toughest foot race. Not anymore. There's a lot of races now that who beat that, but
Yeah.
they were the first one to do that. That's why they get to claim the title.
Yeah.
And I got into that when I got into ultra running in 2002.
Yeah.
My coach has runners preparing for that. They're talking about it. And the first time I went to like when I first learned about ultra marathon, I was in Griffith Park and I was
Mm.
talking to these guys, these Hispanic guys, and I talked to them. Oh, they talking about we already did 80 miles in 3 days. So I said, what the who can run that? And I couldn't believe it. And I look at, hey, ultra marathon, this is it. And then eventually, when I found out these people I was talking with, they came in. 5 of them finished in the top 10 of the Angeles Class 100 miles. So I
Holy
was so
cow.
impressed. I was talking to people who were like local elites.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
like you just didn't even know like who these guys are. They're like complete elitists, like complete
yeah.
top 0.100%. Like it's crazy.
So I got into
Wow.
that. So I started following the the broadcast of the live stream of Badwater, and I know these people. The people those elites that I met, they were running it. So I got into that, and I have friends who run it. And finally, when I was doing those 100 milers, my coach, it took her 3 years to convince me to finally run it because I'm so afraid of that. And I said, "Hey, people could die here." Like I'm,
Yeah.
I went in 2008 just to watch the race, and I got into it
Yeah.
because a
Yeah.
lot of my friends were there.
Yeah, I mean it's in Death Valley, guys. Death Valley, if y'all don't know, I mean, I'm gonna drive through Death Valley after this podcast because I'm going to Vegas for a family trip. But 120 degrees to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. You step outside, it's like walking into an oven. You
Yeah,
know, uh, you're definitely sweating the whole time. Whenever you go to Vegas from LA, you do it early in the morning or at night so that your AC's not popping off the whole time. But to run that. Tell us about that. So it's super hot. When does it start? Does it start in the morning? Like when does it start and stuff?
in 2013 we were the last to start the race daytime, so we were more
Whoa,
exposed. We
dang.
started at 6, and 6 in the morning it was already close to 90 degrees.
Holy cow.
Yeah, 6 in the morning. So we were the last one. The Death Valley superintendent stopped it. Said, "Hey, you guys are stop." So they then didn't issue a permit the following year. So what they did, they made an alternate course, and then they made an agreement. If we start at night, can we get a permit to run the race?
Yeah.
But even with nighttime start, it's also hot. I've been a chief crew. I crewed couple of times in the evening on the revised date. It's still
Yeah.
nighttime. Nighttime is hard.
It's hot. Yeah.
Like the race on Monday, right? Just a couple of the 3 days ago on Monday, the race started 8, 9, and 10. There are three waves, so you don't pack the road. It's only two way,
Yeah.
and it's 120-degree heat in the night, 8 p.m., and it was raining with headwind, so you can't even run.
Okay, you gotta be like a next level masochist or someone that just wants to face death with open arms to have that level
So,
of mentality. There's something either wrong or right with you.
yeah,
You tuned into something that most people will never tune into. And obviously people from around the world are doing this because you
yes,
said
yes,
only 100 people get invited. What does it mean to get invited? Do you have to be like a person that ran the Boston Marathon? You're like first place. You're a first place. Like, what's their candidacy? Like, what's their like requirements to be like, all right, we're gonna invite this guy? Because you did a bunch of ultra marathons.
yes.
It sounds like to get to that. What tell us about how you got there and what they require. I guess.
First of all, they don't even count the marathons. Even if you won the race, zero.
Dang.
There was a runner who had a Guinness World Record for number of marathons finished. The runner applied. Sorry, turned down. The, the qualification is you must at least run three 100-mile races
Mm-hmm.
of certain difficulty. There's like 100-mile, all 100 miles are hard. Even the 1 mile loop 100. If you loop 100 miles, it's still not easy. But they look at the race at least 100 ultra marathons, 300-mile races. They 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 ask you a question. They use like an essay question.
Yeah.
Other than that, what's your contribution to the to the ultra running community? You may be the fastest, but you don't contribute because I right enough prior to the pandemic, I used to be a contributing writer for running magazines, for ultra
Yeah.
running, and another magazine in the Philippines, and several newsletters.
Mm-hmm.
After a race, I do a race report, and then I my review of the race, and I post it for other people so they have a guide when they run. So that's my
Yeah.
contribution. And the second contribution I put in is I do those volunteer trail maintenance, because some of the trails
Mm.
nobody the state doesn't maintain the trails. It's all done by volunteers.
Yeah.
After a fire or something like that, a forest fire, the state doesn't help. It's the volunteers who help restore the trail that I
Yeah.
participate. And likewise, another one, I mentor a few runners. I'm not a coach, but I mentor them. Like somebody, hey, can you help me? Can I train with you? Something like that. So I kind of give them guidelines how to do it. So I give that's part of my essay. They ask you, and then there's a 6 panel member who reviews all the applications.
Yeah.
You may have the minimum, but a lot of people have more. So you upgrade you have to like make your status strong case for you to get picked.
Dang. The resume has to be so stacked. Okay, I just want to put like a bookmark here for a second. For everyone listening, like the audience listen, Ben was working at this time.
Full
Okay.
time.
Work full time, 40 plus hours a week, Monday to Friday. Competing with people that probably were also full time workers, or some people, being sponsored athletes, or I don't. We could get into that as well, but like, let's just say, running is this thing that anyone and everyone can get into, but it's looking like this ultra running kind of stuff is not like anyone and everyone can get into. You got to have a resume to stack in, and that's hard. That's hard, you know, even with no job, right? Even with no job, it's hard to be amongst the elites. Because you're focusing on training, but then you're doing this with your work. So I just want to just say, whoa, that's insane. The fact that you did 135 miles, you were preparing for it, you had to stack your resume. It took you years to get convinced to it, and then show up and do the thing. So doing the thing though, you guys, you did it. You're one of the last ones at 6 a.m. break it down for me. Is it like a team? It's just you, or like a team of people? Like, what? How did you get through 135 miles? Did you have like an injury? Did you get hurt? Did you
I
did
got
you
hurt.
experience did you experience cardiac drift? Did you get dehydrated? What happened? Like, give us all the pain and anguish. I want to hear it.
Uh, First of all, I have a support crew. I have a support crew. They cannot follow you. They have to be ahead of you 1 or 2 miles. So you have to go to them. If they find you like they're following you, they're ghosting you, you can be disqualified. So
Mm,
they're ahead of me. The first 17 miles, like we start at 6 in the morning, right? This first 17 miles is the first checkpoint. It's already hot in the hot, very hot. So I went to the restroom, like clean up myself, like wash my face. And then when
yeah.
I came out, I had nosebleed. I know, just
Snap.
noticed I started running, and I said, "Hey, something like dripping on my nose, right?" And I look at it's
Yeah.
blood. I had nosebleed because of the dry air.
Whoa.
So no head. So I kept going. No, I've been there. I got through that a few times when it's dry. So I just kept going. By 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 mile 42, the second checkpoint is about 4 p.m. I noticed I had to change shoes because my shoes melted. The sole melted.
What? Oh my God.
And I think I only have 20 miles of training on that shoes, brand new shoes. And
I just paid $100. What the hell?
so we got that. Luckily, I have sponsor. Hoka sponsored me for my shoes. They gave
Shout
me,
out Hoka.
yeah.
Shout out Hoka.
So that at 42, we were waiting for ice because ice is a commodity. It's big time. You need ice, ice, ice to cool you down. I have
Yeah.
to wrap it on my head, my shoulder, everything, right? We were waiting for a long time to fill in for the ice. I overate. Instead of usually you don't eat the whole thing like a burger, just eat a portion of it. But
Yeah.
waiting, I finished the whole thing. I hadn't had breakfast. I had nothing in my stomach, so I finished the whole burger.
Yeah.
And mile 42 is straight up 17 miles. After 2 3 miles, I felt like throwing up. And find out that my body cannot process the food because of the heat.
Oh my goodness.
So I
Oh
got
my
through that,
goodness.
kept going until my goal was my team's goal. You just go to mile 59 because that's the highest point. I want to be there at the highest point before midnight because I haven't slept, right? So that's when I plan to sleep. So I took a nap. We reached mile 59. Okay, you sleep before. Like, I think I got there 11:45 in the evening. 15-minute nap. Took off.
Oh.
So
So 59 miles. Just recap here. You had a nosebleed at 17. At 42, you ate a full burger. You couldn't even really eat it, and you're like wanting to throw up. And then you got to 59 miles from 6 a.m. to midnight. Took a 15-minute nap and went on
yeah.
again. I bet you that cot you were sleeping on, or whatever. What were you sleeping on? A little sleeping bag?
No, I slept on the shoulder of the road on the dirt. We just laid a tarp, the
Yeah,
plastic tarp,
yeah.
and I
What
slept.
was that like one of the best 15 minutes you've ever had? Like you're like, this is such a good 15 minutes. I'm so
Was the
glad I'm laying
best.
down right.
Was the best.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So 15-minute nap, best nap in the world. So you've got what? So let's just say 60. You've got 76 miles to go.
Yeah, but my plan too was because I was doing a lot of power walking, like power walk, like run a little, power walk the hills and the flat and the going up, power walk it, and then jog a little bit on the flat and the downhill. So it was rolling. It was rolling up and down.
Yeah.
But the mile 59 too, one of my pacer kept telling me, Ben, uh, there's always a price to reach the summit because I'm a good downhill runner. Of course, by 59, it goes down. by a good 10 miles. So I said, if I reach that, I can make up my lost time on the downhill.
Mm. Yeah,
So
yeah,
I made it. So I got through and then reached that mile 72. I think I reached before close to 5 in the morning.
yeah.
And then we go up again. There's a narrow road. I was almost hit by a car
Oh
because
my
it's a
god.
narrow road, two-way traffic. There's a lot of like on those on the turns, on those curves, blind spot.
Yeah.
I only have 15 minutes sleep, right or not? And you're tired in the morning, going up like maybe 6:30, and and
Yeah.
right on the turn I see a car fast, so I jump on the shoulder, and turn my ankle.
Oh, okay. So you turn your ankle at the point that car tried to hit you. Um, dang, that's quite a story there. Um, how did you handle that torn ankle? How bad was it on scale of 1 to 10? It was like a full on, like you heard it crack, you heard it
Every
like.
rapid, my
Mhm.
my team, my coach rapid, but I kept going as long. I told myself, as long as I'm moving, I'm not stopping. So I kept going, kept going.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And I could run a
Wow.
little, maybe a minute run, walk. As long as I was, that's my goal. Just keep moving, keep moving.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what mile is this now? How many more miles we got now?
So I kept going like that. The pace we went like post to post, like you see those electric pole. Run to a pole, walk, run to another pole. So that as long as I have that consistency, until finally my 110 or 112, I couldn't run anymore. It was just painful. Plus my body was tilting because the street is not flat. Right at the remember it drains to the edge, right? It bevels. So I was trying if the rule is you must be inside the white line. And if they caught me a couple of times drifting away. That's why I said I cannot be penalized if they caught me again. So I tried to stay on the edge. And so you're running, but your body's like tilted like this. That's what
I
my
know what you
coach
mean.
kept.
Like you're
Yes,
trying to stay
yeah.
straight because you're at
My
an
coach,
angle.
yeah. My coach kept telling me, "You're leaning on your left. You're leaning on your left." I said, "I'm not leaning. I feel I'm running straight, but I was leaning on my left." So eventually, your back like this bent a little, and then I have to
Yeah.
endure that towards the big climb. And going to
So this
that
is
mile
112.
122, the city, Lone
Yeah.
Pine, like late in the afternoon, it's a never stunning. You see the roof, the shiny roof of mile of Lone Pine, the visitor center. You think you're getting close, but then the road turns right or curves, then it goes further again. So like, uh,
It
it's
was
like
messing with you. I hate that about running. I hate the races that where when they do their run, um the finish line,
yeah,
they sometimes like they have you run through a bit of that finish line.
yeah,
So like for example, like I did the Surf City Ventura one. You run one way and you run one back, and you
yeah,
think
yeah,
that the last mile is like it, but they're like, no, 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 you got to run a half mile pass and then a
yes,
half mile because
yeah,
they didn't do it right.
yes,
And I'm like, my legs are done, and this half mile back and then this half mile back is the last mile. And it's like mentally you're like, I get what you're saying, because mentally you're like, there's the finish line, but
yeah.
you're getting further, and then you're getting further,
Yeah, you
and then
get
you're
it.
getting further.
You think
Yeah,
you're close and then throwing away.
yeah, yeah. Real quick, 1 second here. So my question is then, this is the last like 20 or so miles. Break that down for us, and then how did it feel crossing that finish line?
When I got to mile 122, it's the last half marathon, right? 13 more miles. I ate half a burger. I look at my watch. I got there. I remember. I still even for now at 8:45 p.m. 8:45 p.m. And then I have to be at the finish line no later than 6 in the morning to get the 48 hours.
Yeah,
So my thinking, What is my dog? Hey,
One second, I'll pause it for a second. Hold
yeah.
on.
When-
All right, so just wanted to just break it there real quick, guys. We're gonna come back to the question. Basically, the last 20 or so miles, breaking it down. Wanted to just get that there. So Ben, yeah, break that down for us. So you ate a burger. You're struggling those last few miles, last 10, 15, 20 miles. You had a burger. Continue from there.
And then mile 122, that's the checkpoint, the second to the last checkpoint. I
Yeah.
got there. I was in full spirit, and I told myself, I have all night to finish this because I have to finish by 6 to get a 48 hours. I look at I have like 9.5 hours to complete half marathon. I said, I can do that. Even I have to walk and I have to crawl. I said, and I just stood up. I didn't rest. Let's go for it. Let's go for this. So like climbing that last 30 miles is painful. Like my back is leaning. So like my coach had to get me switch pacers every mile just to keep my mind this kind of fresh. And at one point I think I was hallucinating. Like one of my crew member, he's a JPL NASA, how I call it, robotics engineer, right? When we were running in the night, he kept telling me about those star formations of this. I said, Jay, talk to me in like lay language. I can't remember. I only know the Big Dipper, all those things, right?
Yeah.
So, and when I switched spacers, I was looking. There was a formation going up, like a light, like stars, right? And I asked my pacer, "Are those lights? Are those stars too?" He said, "Yeah, they're stars." Then they were moving. I said, "How come they're moving?" Actually, those were the lights from the cars ahead of me. They wait. I said, "I'm going up there." Because it's
That's
they
funny.
switch back, so you think I have to go up that high. So I just
Whoa.
grabbed it from 1 mile at a time. Okay, reach until finally I said, okay, 13 miles, break me down, just get me to halfway. Then we're halfway, six like 10K to go, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
finally, when I reached the last checkpoint, wow, last checkpoint, mile 131, 4 miles to go.
4 miles
I
to
said,
go.
I got this. Four
Yeah.
miles. So from there on, I kind of relaxed a little bit. I was actually praying. That's why thank you, like to my friends who supported me, even my crew. So from there on, the last 4 miles was a little bit easier because I know I'll finish. I have plenty of like time on. I bank a lot of hours already.
Yeah.
Then when I
You have to
crawl,
finish under 48 hours, right? Under 48.
yeah, I finished 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. So overall 44
44
hours?
hours.
44 hours?
Yes,
Wow.
44 hours, 8 minutes.
What a
I was
crazy
shooting
story.
for 42, 43, but I hurt myself, so I could have gone
Well, I
40.
mean,
I said, okay,
yeah.
I got this already.
Yeah, you had, 60 miles plus 75 miles plus to go with the rolled ankle. And then amazing story. Insane. I can't even fathom doing all that. Just hearing it from you sounds like a fever dream of like, yeah, the last 4 miles sounded so freaking like relieving. You're like, oh, thank God, I'm done. Um, okay, what's the come down from that look like? I mean, meaning like, you know, how does life look after running 135 miles? You got a rolled ankle. Like, you go back to work Monday, like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, here to chop
Uh,
it.
I, we were planning to go out actually Mount Whitney the next day. We have a permit to go.
What?
We have planned to go Mount Whitney, but my crew, we're only three of us will go. And then I have all this call from the family. Hey, come, my wife, everybody, the family, my friends, they kept calling me. I couldn't even sleep. Right after I finished, when I went back to the hotel, I get all the phone calls. So I said,
Yeah,
forget about the hike. And the next day, uh, my main sponsor around your circle, it's now closed. In Los Feliz, they called me up. Hey Ben, uh, TFC, the Filipino channel will be here tonight. can you make it? So I have all this arrangement. So I had to cancel the plan to go up Mount Whitney. But we
Okay.
have permit anyway in a couple of weeks. So I said I'll just postpone it and do the hike two
Yeah.
or 3 weeks after.
So a little bit of little popularity. The TFC, for everyone wondering, is like a Filipino household must. It's always running in the background. You got your soaps, you got your sad shows, you got your game shows. Everyone's speaking, Tanglish, a little bit of Tagalog and English at the same time.
Yeah.
It's fun. So you were like, how did you know you were the first Filipino to do it? Was that because like with the records, you're like, yeah, I am the first one.
I really didn't. I didn't really look at. I was the first. I
Mm,
didn't pay attention. But when sometime I believe about 2010, they were looking. People were asking, "Has a Filipino ever run this race?"
yeah,
And the main sponsor, the main sponsor, the store, right, offered Filipinos, like whoever Filipino who want to participate, I'm going to sponsor, and I back up. So I can. A lot of people, a lot faster than me, turn it down. So
yeah,
no way I can do that. And also, I have a main sponsor too. I have a private sponsor, but the guy passed away when he was giving me the money in 2010. But I said no, I want to be. I'll keep the money when I'm ready. I'll go get it. But then by the time I was ready, he got sick,
yeah,
like real ill, serious illness until he passed away.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, condolences. Sorry for your loss. I have a question on that. What what does it take financially to do like a run? Because I asked this because getting into the
Yes.
running community, running stuff, you got guys like, yo, I got the Endorphin Speed 4,
Oh,
$150
yeah.
right
Yes.
there.
Yes.
I got the heart rate monitor Garmin,
Yeah.
$150 right there. I got the Garmin 4 Runner,
Yeah.
$150 right there. No, $500 right there.
$500.
Uh I got the flip belt, $30.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just the gear
Yeah.
that you need. And then you got your running clothes, which,
Yeah. Yeah.
if I walk into a Lululemon, don't have a credit card on me
Get
because
it.
it's gonna be a
You're broke.
problem. I'm broke. And then obviously the fuel. We could talk about fuel, and food, but like gels and water bottles and like different hydration packs and stuff. How much did you ever tally up like how much you needed? Let's just say for like one. Let's just say the Badwater. How much money did you need, like just to get through a training cycle and get that, and obviously have the support team,
Yeah.
whatever you needed? How much money was that for one person to think about?
Let's just talk about registration. It's $1,000 when I run it. Now it's 1,500.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, 1,500 now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a set of crew. Your crew take time off from work, this and that. You have to feed them because, of
Dang.
course, like it's not just hey, can you join me? Say at least you have to give them something. You have to feed them. Food expensive.
Yeah.
You have to put in a hotel. Like a regular Motel 6 that we can see in Death Valley, that's 3-4 times as much because that's the only
It's
hotel
true.
in town.
It's the only one.
Yeah, it's the only one you have to stay for almost a week. Gas is way expensive because there's only a few gas stations.
Yeah.
So when you fill up, when you reach the gas station, fill up. If it's $5 here, it's about $7 there.
Yeah.
And then ice is like big time. If you buy here $2, it's $4 there.
Yeah.
So in total, at least you need about $5,000 for the
Yeah.
race, not including
Yeah.
the gear, not including your supplies, just for the race.
Yeah. Okay. So just like a basic look, an endeavor like this is
Also, you have to rent a van,
Yeah.
transportation.
Okay. So you're looking at like, let's just to be, a little bit extravagant, have all your bases covered, have a good team. You're looking at 15,000 maybe, right? Like five to
Less
fifteen
than
thousand dollars.
probably less. You can get about maybe about 6,000 for me, if I run it now again, 6
Mm.
should be fine.
So, okay, got it. Okay, so just a lot of logistics, but like a mighty investment, $6,000. That's like a used car.
Yeah,
That's that's like a good
unless
used
you have
car.
somebody
Okay,
to sponsor you.
yeah,
Because I have friends who put in. I saved in some money. I was
yeah,
like monthly this, and then I have a lot of friends, co-workers, family who chip in.
yeah,
Then whatever I excess money I got, let's say
yeah,
my expenditure was 5, but I got maybe 6. I donated to charity. Everything like I used it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. No, I wanted just to hear that because logistically, I'm just like, how the hell do you like even like do? Because I mean, sports. Growing up, doing baseball or something like that. A
Yeah.
parent is always paying, the fees for the sport, driving them to practice, and making sure they have their gear. And kids grow, and the next year it's like, well, the shoes don't even fit them. They need new gear. They need new bats, and all these things. And like to think of a race, like, isn't it just running? You just need some running shoes to go. It's like, no, it's way more complicated than that. There's logistics, there's the training cycle. It's like 6,000, like you said, to just get to the race and rent the van. So maybe 6 to like 7,000.
Yeah.
But then there's the training cycle to get to it, like the
Yes.
fuel you need, the food you
Yeah.
need,
Training.
and the training, and like how many shoes you probably have to go through, the watches, things like that. Um, I don't want to like overdo that, but I think we could go deeper into like
Yes.
training strategies and fueling strategies at another time. Probably need to do a part 2, but um, I do want to be respectful of time. I think we're coming up on close to an hour here, and what I wanted to kind of just go is kind of this last part, legacy. Your first Filipino to do this. You and I have gotten to connect and stuff like that. You're semi-retired. You've written a book and stuff like that, but my question is, it's like, what are you doing now? What are you doing now to kind of pass the time? Because it's like, man, you've hit such big peaks, literally and figuratively. But it's like I see you training still, Ben, and I'm like, dang, you're. I feel like you're leaving like this crazy legacy of like just hard work day in day out. Like I see you out there training, and I'm like, I know people that are like half your age, twice less, like just don't even do an ounce of the work that you do. Like not even an ounce. They don't got nothing on you, Ben. And I don't say that to toot your horn. I'm being honest with you about that. Um, yeah. What are you doing nowadays? What's it look like nowadays for
Well,
you?
I I turned 67 a couple of weeks ago.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So even for the training, also I would add that training for the race, I did a lot of driving to Palm Springs leading to the race. I think about a couple of months leading to the race. I look at the
Yeah.
temperature. I drove to Palm Springs just to run up and down the tram road. And
Yeah.
it was, you're up there running 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and cops look at me and say, "Are you crazy?"
Getting
Basically,
heat acclimated.
to
Yeah.
get acclimated. And I did a lot of sauna training,
Yeah.
stay in the sauna. So that's kind of the basic of running these hot races. On the
Yeah.
legacy, uh, after the following year, I finished in 2013, right? In 2014, I visited the Philippines. I have to take care of something. The Filipino runners, the running community, gave me a hero's welcome. So I had this. They gave me. They rented a place just for me to meet and greet and talk about my experience. So it was good. Then I've been helping a lot of runners. So, hey, Kuya Ben. Oh, Kuya is brother, right? Brother Ben,
Yeah.
can you what advice can you give me? I want to move up. I want to run this. I want to run this race. So I've been doing a lot. I A few times I've been asked to do a presentation talk. So I have a PowerPoint about how to begin running or running for beginners. I'll just be like that. So it kind of
Yeah.
spreading it out, helping others.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you definitely when I get to talk to you, I'll ask you questions about running, like, hey, what should I do here?
Yeah.
I know you gave me some insights on like a few of my runs, my Long Beach runs. I got like two runs there. I got a 10K and a 10 miler. And I know you're like, no, if you can get hills, go get hills because you could work on power output. If you're doing flat's hard, because
Flat is
it's
hard.
you're just
I'm
yeah, like you're not necessarily working on cadence and speed, especially. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. Um, so I really appreciate that. So, training nowadays, what are you doing nowadays? I know, are you trying to do an ultra or anything, or what's on the horizon for you for yourself in terms of training?
I'm still running, but not as competitive as before. I'm slower now. This year I did a 50K, couple of marathons. And then I went to the Philippines during my trip. I did a mountain trail run, like very steep. It's like you have to use rope just to get to the top of the hill. So I'm still planning to run races, but I don't have the speed that I used to be. My goal is just
Yeah.
to finish now.
Yeah. Okay. Just enjoy, have a good
Yeah.
time. I think you've already your resume and pedigree speak for itself. You have nothing to prove.
Yes.
It's insane. I mean, we didn't even get into like the Bataan Death March, which is basically um an honoring of the Bataan Death March back in, I believe,
Yeah.
World
The
War
World
II,
War
where
II. Yes.
yeah. And obviously you've done everything from the LA Marathon. I mean, LA Marathon 22 times just sounds insane. And obviously you've written, that's a bit of a legacy, and you have your book. Why don't we do this to kind of end off here, guys, for the guests? I mean, honestly, Ben, your story, we talked just mostly about that Death Valley run, um the Badwater. I feel like there's so much more here I'd love to pull and extract, more so like the strategies and tactics, but I think that's going to be like a podcast of its own. Like, what does a training block look like? How do you eat? When do you eat? All those things. I think our audience kind of likes that, like the whole tactics and ideas and habits. But we're talk to us about your book, I Dreamed, I Ran, I Conquered, or Dream, Great Things Are Coming Again. Give us a little bit of synopsis and more people can find that.
The first book, I Dream, I Ran and Conquered, was based how I got into running and how I conquered this Badwater Ultramarathon, how I trained for it, and what peaks and valleys that I reached. And then the
Yeah.
second book, Dream, Great Things Are Coming Again, it came in the pandemic. I've been trying to write my second book, but it's hard to start. And then the
Yeah.
pandemic came, and then I figured kind of everything stopped. So I working from home. I used to work downtown, take the bus, but now I have after finishing work, so I have plenty of time. So I got into what do I miss now? So I started okay. Let's dream that great things will be back to normal, and that's how.
Yeah.
And it
I
took
like that.
out of my race report, my running kind of running write ups
Yeah. Yeah.
about races.
Got it. Okay, I'm gonna have to read those. I mean, I read a little bit of that. I Dreamed, I Ran, I Conquered. My fiance Desiree was actually starstruck when I gave her the book. She's like, "Wait, you got this from Ben, the guy you talked to at the gym, like that running guy?" And I was like, "Yeah." It's like, "Do you talk to him every day?" I'm like, "Every chance I get, I talk to him." And she's like, "Is he like famous?" I'm like, "I think so. I think so." And like in a certain way, he has a book. He's been on TFC, which to us is like paramount. Um, Okay, what I gotta ask you before to send off here is, for those that are looking at running is kind of like on a hot streak right now.
Yeah.
A lot of social media influencers they've dubbed this term of like hybrid athletes, or these hybrid athletes doing like ultra marathons, endurance runs, and just really highlighting running. And I think running is getting a resurgence. Lots of run clubs are popping
Oh
up.
yes,
Like,
yes,
I
yes.
like the Newport one. I've ran at the Eagle Rock Run Club. There's the Pasadena
So
Run Club.
Pasadena
There's some
Pacers.
Lululemons. Yeah, and then like it's so funny. It's like an internet meme. Like, it's a joke that like run clubs are the new it's like the new dating app, or like
Yes.
the new dating platform, where it's like you go there and it's like you can find the love of your life. And then people are using Strava, the app Strava, and
Yes.
like Strava is not it's not a running app. It's a dating app. You know, if someone likes your thing, kudos. It's like they're giving you attention.
Yeah.
All these funny things. But you know, running's getting its resurgence. I feel like maybe it's just my algorithm, my social media algorithm, the people that I'm hanging out with. But what would you say to someone that's like on the edge of like, you know what, this running thing, it wasn't the thing for me. I used to run the mile in middle school. They forced me to run it. I hated it. I can't run because I got an injury, or it's just like a thing that they dislike. I don't know. What would you say to someone, on the verge of wanting to run, or like they're against it? What would you say to get them to
Well,
enjoy it?
you have to love it. You don't have to be right real fast. You don't take off right away. You have to slowly get into there. You have to walk like for beginning runners. Now they offer this run walk program where you run at a convenient pace, maybe 3-4 minutes, and then you walk one. So that's the like when I started running. There's nothing like that. I just go out and run. But now
Yeah.
it's more easier for people to deal with. There's a lot of coaches who teach this, and running clubs helps a lot to get into into running. But running, I think, if you're pushing for something, just train hard. A lot of people, they go to the races, train hard, because don't bet on hope and prayer to take you to the finish line. A lot of people, I can do this, I can knock this off. But no, if you don't train, you can't make it. It's like if you have a goal in life, whatever aspiration, your profession, if you don't study, you don't prepare, even whatever hope or prayer you make, you can't make it.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't rise to your ideals or expectations. You fall to the level of your training,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So if you've never ran a 5K and you just hope you can,
Yeah.
you might be able to. It's 3 miles, but for most people, that might be a challenge, get hurt or something. So prepare, make it
Yeah.
happen. And I love it. And I will say this, and I've been thinking about this a lot, Ben. Running has been a love-hate relationship for me. When I was in wrestling, we used to run like 5 miles before practice just to like get it warmed up, and then we used to do it for cutting weight too. And then there was a point where there was a lot of track conditioning workouts, and I fell in love
Yes.
with that more because it was
Yeah.
like shorter term, like run some 800s, do some fartleks, and then in
Yes.
college it was just a lot better. Um, but what I hated though was I got injured. I ran a marathon and I could barely DNF it because I almost DNF'd it because my heel almost tore. It was just so inflamed, and that was like 8 years ago, or 6 to 8 years ago. And I was like, I ran a marathon. I'm done. I'm not doing any more running things.
Yeah. A lot of people do that.
Yeah, exactly.
One
And
and
then
done.
one and done. And then my fiance was doing the running, and and then we did a high rocks, which is like a fitness race of sorts, but it has running into it. Basically, you run like 5 miles in total or something like that. But every like half mile, you're doing like a circuit, and it's very like people say it's kind of like CrossFit because it has like ski erg and like rowers and like lunges and stuff like this. But that was the first time, and I haven't. My background is more combat athletics, like jujitsu,
Hmm.
and that race and doing another 5K, doing another half marathon, getting ready for all that stuff, I kind of got out of training for jujitsu for over like a year or so now, and the one thing that this lesson I realized and relearned really quick and relearned, and like it got me addicted to this stuff again, was you can't hide. There's no hiding when it comes to running. You either ran the mile in this time or you didn't. You either ran this distance or you didn't. And it's very objective. As such, with like jujitsu, for example, there's someone else in front of you. There's multiple variables. Did you know the technique? You can slow it down, you can speed it up. Maybe you're not fit, but you're hiding it because you know more technique, or maybe you're a little more flexible or something like that. But with running, it's like run there and back as fast as you can. Everyone's an equal. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's
Everyone is
equal.
running.
And that's it. And that's what I
Everyone's,
learned was like, yeah, everyone suffers. And what I learned was like, dang, this is as objective as it can get with this like running thing, with lifting or the high rock stuff. where it's like you either get better or you don't. And it turned me upside down to where the point where I was like, I hated a lot of running. And then I was like, you know what? I love this because now there are these objective markers and you could scale it, right? You could be like, I'm gonna do a 5K here, I'm gonna do a 10K here, I'm gonna do this and create like a season of progress and create a pedigree. So um, that's what I would say to folks, when it comes to running is you might hate it, but it's this thing where it's just an objective thing, and it's just you and that. And when you get to running, you can progress and you can get better every time. Ben, I really want to just say thank you so much for saying hi to me
Oh,
about a
thank
year or
you,
so
thank you,
ago
thank
on
you.
the
Thank,
street, and then getting to know each other and being on the podcast. This was a long time coming. I've definitely wanted to always hear your story, and I feel like we finally got to sit down. Um, I'm just gonna just end it here, guys. You heard it, Ben on the pod. First Badwater, Filipino Badwater to run. He's done so much. Get his book and give him some love. But other than that, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you, Ben. Thank you so much for coming on.
thank you for having me. Thank you. And I'll see you around.
Yeah.